San Francisco's collapse is just starting because we got something very frightening that's coming in the next few months and also next year and the year after that, which is commercial real estate pain is just the tip of the iceberg because guess what's going on? Well, there are $2 billion in commercial real estate loans coming due in San Francisco this year. There's another $2 billion next year. So what does this mean? It means that a lot of the guys, especially for the guys who pretty much started building skyscrapers, condos, and also condominiums, retail space during the pandemic, during 0% interest rates, you got to pay that money back. I mean, when you borrow money from the bank wants the cash. But San Francisco is facing something very interesting, which is when you bought this property and also took out this mortgage, now the property isn't even worth half of the mortgage. So what's the point of even paying for the rest of the mortgage? And this is why defaults are skyrocketing in San Francisco. And we're not talking about properties in the Tenderloin district, which is just basically an open air drug market. Surprisingly, the Tenderloin district doesn't even have that many, defaults because the whole entire real estate area there has always been pretty doo-doo. But we're seeing defaults in some of the most high-end places of San Francisco, right? Like Chinatown area, near the marina. You got downtown, which you got several big towers, skyscrapers. And also, if you go to the Civic Center, we're seeing heightened amounts of defaults as well, right? We're seeing apartment complexes, NEMA. We're seeing big office towers defaulting. And also, surprisingly, if you put the Google Guide down, you do have this plot of land right here, which is supposed to be a massive 47-story skyscraper called Hayes Point, which recently has defaulted, gave the land back to the lender, and said that they're not going to be building anything on it. And look at the Google Street View. This was filmed on August 23rd, so just a couple months ago. And just from the Google Street View alone, you don't see anybody. Do you even see more than like 2 people on a block? You don't. It's completely deserted. Sure, you got a few people here and there, but look at the retail space. Empty, empty, empty right there. And over there, all these retail spaces are also completely empty. And it just shows you that it's just not a great place anymore, right? You got rampant homelessness, crazy high crime, and also the worst thing is the city just doesn't care. Like, they don't even acknowledge the big problems. I like San Francisco. I really hope they change because this is a pretty fantastic city, right? You're not going to get a vibe like this city anywhere else in America. It's very different from the East Coast, right? It's like a peninsula, great weather, fog, beaches, parks. There's even a golf course here. And it's all very compact with the original Chinatown. So it's actually a pretty lit place if you've ever been here. But right now, it's a pretty bad place to live unless they change things up. So commercial real estate is a big part of San Francisco. And we're seeing more and more defaults as time goes on. And many of these defaults are happening because of shoplifting, theft, crime. And of course, you got the whole defund the police situation. So you already have San Francisco in its previous history, high drug use, high shoplifting rates, and high crime rates. And then you suddenly, destroy the police department because now San Francisco PD is short of like 600 to 800 officers and several other auxiliary staff. Guess what happens? You got crazy high crime, especially when office workers aren't here. There's less foot traffic. And criminals, they started off small and they started ramping it up. Now you have organized crime. So bad to the point that Whole Foods, Old Navy, and recently Target have closed down their businesses. So just the big corporations already left millions of empty square footage of space. And this is causing San Francisco real estate being really bad, right? San Francisco home sellers are 4 times more likely to sell at a loss. And if you look at the average San Francisco price, certain areas of the neighborhood, some are down 20% from all-time highs, some are down 10%. But commercial real estate is the worst. If you look at some of the biggest towers, they're selling for 50 to 70% off. The most infamous case is the Wells Fargo's building next to the Trans-America Pyramid. This is a high-end area. This is actually a tourist area. So this is not like a bad area by any standards. And guess what's happening here? Wells Fargo bought a building for $108 million back in 2005. So you would think that there's going to be a decent amount of price appreciation in almost 2 decades of holding on to the building. Guess what Wells Fargo sold it for? $40-ish million in 2023. Like, what in the world is going on here? I mean, they lost so much money from that. They might as well just rent buildings in San Francisco from now on. But it just shows you that many of these buildings, people are still paying off these loans. And you got very infamous cases like Nema, for example, who isn't even like a office building, already thinking about defaulting on a loan, right? Default imminent on $384 million loan for Nema, San Francisco Tower. It's a 754 luxury unit multifamily tower, cool services, cool amenities. It's basically that building you saw right next to that empty plot of land. Yeah, they're defaulting. They're saying that many of the employees next to it, like X, you got Reddit, Uber, Lyft, and several other smaller startups are all leaving. All right, they're all moving online, and when a Bay Area worker gets to work online, they go to other parts of the Bay Area which are cheaper and nicer, or just move out of California, just go to Las Vegas, which is, in my opinion, even better. And you also have stores like Westfield Mall. They closed down. They defaulted on a fat loan of like over $500 million. They pretty much said straight up, the building isn't even worth like half the mortgage. And American Eagle and other retailers are even suing Westfield for letting the iconic mall deteriorate into disarray, allowing crime to run rampant. It's the crime, guys. Crime is so bad in San Francisco that nobody wants to be here. And what's even worse is you also have, a lot of stories like Park 55 Hotels. Let's check that out. These guys recently defaulted. It's like the biggest default I've ever seen. And this is a huge hotel. It's a skyscraper hotel. And look at how fat this building is, bro. Like, this is a huge building of 3,000 hotel rooms. The company defaulted on their massive $700 million loan, also stating that 1, there's barely any tourism, 2, there's a lot of crime, and 3, the most important part, the building isn't even worth half of the mortgage that they took out. So they owe like $700 million to the bank, and guess what they said? This building probably isn't even worth like $300 million bucks. That's how sad the situation is in San Francisco, and it's only going to get worse and worse by the day, right? Yeah, it's pretty bad. We're not going to be seeing any sort of recovery soon for San Francisco real estate. And like I said before, you got billions of dollars of commercial real estate loans coming due. How are they going to pay for that? And it's just commercial, like the offices. We're not counting ground floor retail space. We're not counting malls. We're not counting luxury condominiums for rent. We're not counting a lot of things. It's just commercial real estate loans coming due. And many of them just don't have money to pay for them because the vacancies of San Francisco is still upticking. Whereas some cities, vacancies for offices are surprisingly decreasing. San Francisco, the construction has basically halted. There's so much empty space in the building, in the city, in the area. You got like, almost 40% vacancies, and it's still rising up. Don't be fooled about the stories like AI companies moving in. Yes, AI companies are moving in, but how many companies are moving out? There's so many of them. It's really sad because vacancies before the pandemic was like 1 to 3%. When there's an empty office or retail space, people scramble there like ants to get it. Now the vacancies are hitting closer to 40%. And in my opinion, probably by the end of February or March of next year, we could be seeing vacancies hitting 50%. See you guys later.